I didn't need my penis, now I want to have it and have sex with it, but I don't have it.
I've been making videos about the insane increase in the number of kids, especially teenagers, identifying as trans, and how it's a huge issue, most likely rooted in internalized misogyny and homophobia. And almost all of those people that I talked about in videos have been female until now. Apparently, a number of detransitioned males, men, so basically men who thought they were trans women realized they weren't and detransitioned, have been following these conversations that we've been having. And I happen to have two of them here with me today to talk about their experiences. Because I know you guys are going to have a ton of more questions than we can possibly answer in this 10 to 15 minute video. We are going to do a live podcast on the call-in app. I'll have the link in the description below. It's completely free. They're not sponsoring this video. I love using them. The details are gonna be right here. You can actually call in. I'm gonna have these two guys and a few other detrans men there to answer your questions.
Hi everyone, my name is Shapeshifter. I'm a detrans male, gay male. I'm 31 years old. I was living my life as a transgender woman for 10 years.
My name is Brian. I lived as Brianna for close to 10 years.
A person who got battered was their femininity, and because of social pressures and internalized homophobia.
As a young adult, young man, bullied really badly in school for being, a little bit effeminate. A therapist who specializes in transgender, like what they might call a gender therapist. She basically pushed me to change my genders. I'd experience gender euphoria, and I'd be a heterosexual woman as opposed to a gay male.
Sex reassignment surgery in 2015, and I completely regret it.
She said all my problems, my drug addictions, my, somewhat suicidality was all because I was a woman trapped in a male's body.
Up until recently, I started taking testosterone, and it felt like a part of me came back online, a part of me that I destroyed and killed. And that's what I knew I made a huge mistake.
I was in college. I got exposed to the gender ideologue.
Being sold a lie that I could change my sex and have a better life, I got suckered into this, and it completely done a lot of damage to my body.
It's a lot, right? It's very heavy, but it's good because I think even though you suffered, and maybe hopefully you're not still suffering, but even though you suffered, I think you have a very empowering story because you still have come to your truth.
When I was living as a trans woman, it was just absurd. And I started to feel actual reverse gender dysphoria after taking all this hormone stuff.
You have to remember, before any of this trans stuff came to light, before it was popular, before it was a cultural thing, most people with actual gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder are male. So this is fairly a more common thing with people detransitioning being male. You just don't hear about it. Now it's so uncommon to hear about it because all the people that are transitioning, most of the people, 99%, are females that do not have gender dysphoria.
But I never crossed my mind that I could change my sex or something like that till I came to US and I went to school. But then once I went to school and people were like, what are your pronouns? And that's when I started doing more research, and a lot of things started clicking in my head. I used to like to play with Barbies, and I used to wear a towel on my head, pretend it's my hair, almost like I latched onto it,
Never really developed breast tissue or anything. I don't really have facial hair, or I had laser, I have no body hair really, but I mean, it fucked up my endocrine. My endocrine system is to this day pretty messed up.
But as I went through therapy, I realized I had a lot of software issues. I had childhood trauma. I'm borderline. I have ADHD.
The other issues that are not gender dysphoria. I would say it's a very typical thing for LGBT people in general to misunderstand one mental health issue as another. A lot of them do have very similar characteristics. So, which is why it's even more important, and I'm sure now somebody like you is going to vouch for it as well, to go through extreme amounts of therapy, talk therapy, and all these kind of things before you're allowed to make permanent changes to your body.
Because here in California, especially LA, there's many different therapists, and actually you don't even need to see the therapist anymore. You can just go to these gender clinics and they'll give you a prescription for whatever cross-sex hormone, whether it's testosterone or estrogen, whichever way you're going. And you can get these referral letters for like all kinds of surgeries, like to have your, I never had any plastic surgery. I took the hormone therapy, but I still have my parts.
I should have been given letters in just 12 visits for such a life-altering decision that I completely regret. I was not aware. I had my surgery at 24, going on 25, and I was convinced that I was meant to be a woman and this is the right thing. You couldn't talk me otherwise. Anybody who said otherwise, I was like, this is transphobic. They don't understand me. But looking back, I just confused my femininity for desire to be an actual woman. Like, how the hell do I know what being a woman is? It's a biological experience.
When did you come out as a Detrans man?
Earlier this year, like February.
Oh, wow. Okay, so this is like super, super fresh for both of you.
It's just a hard realization. It's a hard pill to swallow that all these 10 years I was not really authentic self. My authentic self would have been being just a feminine, gender non-conforming gay man.
If anybody shows even the slightest variation in how their gender should be, they're assumed that they're trans, right?
I'm a medical patient till the rest of my life. I have to inject myself with hormones. If I don't, the osteoporosis will get worse. So they pretty much made a cash cow out of me till the rest of my life.
Because I don't really give a shit what people do. When I was younger, I had more of like a libertarian vibe. But based on just what's happened to me here in California with the transgender thing and being like, I really feel like had I never met that therapist, I would never, and it's still my fault that I did this. I should have told this therapist to like fuck off. But at the time I was just void of any meaning in my life.
I'm completely mad about what's happening. I feel like these hormones that people claim to be safe are not FDA approved for so-called gender dysphoria. Like, we really don't know what these hormones will do to people who take them for decades. We really don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to me. There is some information online saying that just by having major surgery like that on my endosystem, I might have reduced my natural lifespan by 10 years.
And I just thought being gay was like a bad thing. I don't know why I thought being, a transgender would be better, but
the whole notion is like, oh, it's not a big deal. Somebody can take hormones for a little while, see how it goes, or get on blockers, and then do puberty later on when your peers already went through puberty. That to me is crazy. Even little exposure to cross-sex hormones can make you even more confused. I'm fine with my opinions up until I started taking hormones, and I all of a sudden started craving bottom surgery. I got more sad and depressed, but I attributed it to I needed to do the bottom surgery, to complete my transition to elevate.
Right. Yeah, there are actually some studies, I believe, that say that trans women, not that you're a trans woman, but even if you are an actual trans woman, once they get bottom surgery, it doesn't help their depression as much, or their gender I guess it helps their gender dysphoria, but it doesn't help their mental health as much as they thought it would. So it's interesting that it just winds up being a really shitty human existence, like human experience, I should say. Do you think that gender dysphoria and transgenderism is a real thing? I
think it's real, but I think it's so rare.
I feel like if there is true trans, we definitely need the stricter definitions. What we have right now is extremely dangerous. Like, guys, alert, we're in trouble. I don't know how many more people need to say that. We're gonna lose entire generation of youth.
I think there are actual trans people with gender dysphoria, but I think that number of people is so insignificant. Most of the time, it's either body dysmorphia or depression or other issues. Doctors, LGBT not-for-profits, the average straight white girl, everybody wants to get on board with this. I'm going to call them whatever they want. I don't want to be called transphobic.
As a man, though, I feel a lot better. You know?
Good.
I didn't date anyone. The whole time I never did anything like that.
The transitioners that I talk to, they're coming more and more forward. A lot of them, have a lot of shame. They don't want to speak out because they have regular jobs and they'll get fired, or they're trying to get new jobs. They don't want to be out online with this story,
I even want to decided to share this with anybody outside of my immediate friends and family, is just because a lot of people are doing it now. A lot of people are doing it, and it's not the people who used to be doing it. It's adults doing it.
Right.
And I just hope that some of them, but then again, though, when I was totally delusional, if I saw this interview, 8-9 years ago, I would have been like, oh my God, these fucking, but eventually when I was transing, I started listening to Joe Rogan. And it started, to down the red pilling or whatever.
Things that the gay people are more likely to show gender nonconforming behavior as kids than straight people.
Exactly.
And honestly, left alone, I believe a lot of those people would have just gone out to be healthy, happy gay people.
So, I mean, I wish instead of finding transgenderism, I wish I found like an underground boxing club or, anything.
I never came across gender ideology because I never became a medical patient,
They're making it into something much lighter than it actually is.
I just feel like I've been harmed by it. And I just,
You've seen the negative side of this.
Yeah. And there's some little gay kid or lesbian out there who just, sees this. Cause now at schools, apparently in middle schools and high schools, there's like a little subgroup of the trans kids.
Yep.
And
it's always in the same friend group, if you notice. I'm very proud of you for being open about this. I really am.
It's just like, I don't know, I feel like I need to because somebody has to raise alarm. Like Blair has interviewed detransition a couple of years ago, but nothing has changed. People are still transitioning in record numbers.
I don't want to become some zealot necessarily, but I just feel like I've had something so strange happen to me. It really feels like if you like some of the better episodes of The Twilight Zone, the protagonist comes out of the Twilight Zone, but society is still in it. So I feel like I've come out of the Twilight Zone, but here in LA, it's still the Twilight Zone. But at the end of the day, I fucked up. I should have used my best judgment and I didn't. I never felt like a woman though.
I will say that these two detrans men are incredibly brave for speaking out. Obviously, I said that in the video, but I want to say it again because you and I know the far left will do nothing but try to hide their stories, bully them, silence them for coming out as detrans because it goes against their narrative. But I'm happy that they're here because they have the potential to save thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives. And remember, they have a lot more to say, and I'm sure you guys do as well, and you have a ton of questions, so make sure you go again and download the Call-In app. It's a free app. I'll have the link in the description below. We're gonna go live Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And other than that, I'll see you guys back here in a few days with a brand new video. Until then, I love you. Love yourselves. Bye.